Bruno Guimares is an unbelievable footballer, an unbelievable midfielder. In the day and age of sixes and eights and tens, let's not just get away from players that are just very good all round. And for me, that is what Bruno Guimares is. I think he's got a brilliant pass on him, very talented with his footwork, good skill, great engine, gets back, gets in a tackle, drives forward with the ball. He's an all-action midfielder. And for me, doesn't get anywhere near enough the praise from football fans anywhere. Whenever I hear people talking about the best midfielders in the league, I hear Declan Rice mentioned, I hear Rodri mentioned, and of course, Rodri for me is the best. I hear this player mentioned, that player mentioned. I never see people saying it's Bruno Guimares. He's one of the best. And he is. And what I love about this is a guy that's just captained Newcastle to their first trophy in 70 years. And this is a guy that is going to gain a lot of interest. Let's not beat around the bush. And I'm sure there's many Newcastle United fans right now screaming at me saying he's not going anywhere. And I'm not saying he is, but he is a talent. And in this world in this world of football, where I think talented players are becoming few and far between now, if we're going to be brutally honest, the level of footballer is nowhere near what it used to be. It makes people like Bruno Guimares stand out. Now, Bruno Guimares, for me, he signed a new contract, I believe, in 2023 for 5 years. So that means he's got 3.5 years, 4 years left, something like that, roughly on his contract. And that means that whatever Newcastle will charge for him, if he was to have suitors from bigger clubs, I'm guessing is going to be north of 100 million. And again, people might think that's crazy. But in this day and age, if you don't need to sell, if a club is not financially restricted in what they need to do selling, they will slap massive transfer figures on their players. They will. It's just what happens. Now, there were lots of reports in January that Man City were after Bruno Guimaraes. And it didn't materialize. In the end, they ended up going to get Nico Gonzalez. And I'm guessing a deal for Bruno Guimares would be a lot more difficult than a deal for Nico Gonzalez. But let's have a look at him, shall we? I saw an article this morning that I quite liked about Bruno Guimares when I'm doing my searches on the internet for good content. And I like to look at all the other clubs around other than the club I support. And I saw this article here from Lee Ryder, the chief Newcastle United writer. And he said, Newcastle United star Bruno Guimares makes trophy promise and drops future hint. Now, that caught my attention, and I wanted to hear what he had to say to see what's he talking about. What does this mean? Future hint and trophy promise. So let's read down. I thought this was a really interesting article. If we actually scroll down, you can see that, straight away there, Newcastle United captain Bruno Guimares has warned that the Magpies can't allow talk of a trophy drought to build up again in such a concerning manner. And that is alluding to the fact that as we look down here, Bruno said 70 years without a trophy for a club is too much, especially for our fans, talking about Newcastle, who are unbelievable. We tried to give them as much joy as we could. I think we did it right, and nobody can say we did not deserve to win on the day. It's my first trophy as captain and my first trophy for this club. I am very proud I chose Newcastle United to be my team. Now, I always find it interesting when players say things like that, because very often we've seen players that, kissing the badge and this is my club and look at me. And then a bigger club comes in, gone. And suddenly you go, well, hang on, mate, 3 months ago, this was your club and this is what you wanted. So I always take it with a slight pinch of salt. But the Newcastle captaincy, first trophy, he's playing with people like Isak, like Joe Linton, and like Tonali. And I mentioned them because I'm going to talk about the midfield three in a minute. And I think he's onto a good thing. And then you have to ask yourself, what can Newcastle be if they keep Isak, Gordon, Tonali, Guimares? If they keep these players, what can they be? And the answer is the sky's the limit. The sky is the limit. depending on how well they keep buying. But if they keep buying the Guimares, the Isaks, the Toonarmys, the Livramentos, the Halls, the Botmans, then they're going in the right direction, Newcastle, aren't they? And ever since Eddie Howe's taken over, they're a club that are definitely on that upward trajectory. Now, talking about Eddie Howe is really interesting because when he's talking about the trophies, you can see here that, you know, Bruno was linked with a possible exit for 100 million release clause loomed over the midfielder, you know, and then he signed a new contract. So Newcastle United reacted very quickly. They realized they had a star on their hands and they tied him up to warn clubs off. Now, this is the important bit for me. And everybody who watches me knows I'm a huge Eddie Howe fan, and I would love Eddie Howe at Tottenham Hotspur. I know I'm not getting him, Newcastle fans. Don't worry. I just would love him because we've got, can't even say his name. I think he's that bad. Bruno Guimares said he's the best manager I ever had, which is high praise. What a guy. The team tactics were perfect. We won the battle in the middle and spoke about this a lot during the week. What a moment for Eddie Howe. He is always there to help. He always wants to improve the players. So I am very happy for him. Now, what I love about that is this is everything I say about Eddie Howe. He improves footballers. And again, when you look at that midfield of Joe Linton, Guimares and Toonarmy, hear me out. For me, I think pound for pound as a midfield three is the best midfield three in the Premier League. Not as individual players, but pound for pound as a midfield three, it's got everything. It's got pace. It's got power. It's got goals. It's got creativity, passing, engine, work rate, vision, tracking back, ball recoveries, work rate. I think it's got everything. And Joe Linton is the biggest example of Eddie Howe upskilling, upgrading, coaching a player better. Guimares, for me, has come on leaps and bounds since he's been at Newcastle United as well. And Toonarmy, fair play. After the massive ban he had for the gambling and the betting, it could have gone one or two ways. But Eddie Howe's done a brilliant job with him, and Toonarmy is one of my favourite midfielders as well. So as a Spurs fan, I'm very jealous of the midfield three that Newcastle have implemented and put into place. But I'm interested to know from you guys, what's the limit for Newcastle? What do Newcastle need? You've got people like me, not a Newcastle fan, sitting here talking about how brilliant that midfield three is. So how do you make it better, the team? Isak, Gordon, you don't replace them, do you? You don't replace the midfield three. So is it adding more Bruno Guimaraes for rotation options? Is it finding another Gordon but on the right-hand side for Newcastle? I think it's all very interesting what's going on down there at St. James's Park at the moment. But what I know is you've now got a winning manager, a manager that's got over the line. You've got a manager that has taken you into the Champions League once. Looks like he's going to take you there again this year. You're there, thereabouts. There's nothing stopping you. There's no reason. You're playing once a week now. You've got a good team. You've got one of the best goal scorers in world football. What is the limit for Newcastle? And the last thing I'm going to look at here, I'm going to have a look at Bruno Guimaraes to round all this off. What I'm really impressed about with this guy is he seems to play a lot. And in this day and age, that's quite rare. People playing over 40 games a season. If you look, when he went to Newcastle, you know, they're 22, 23, his first season, 40 games in all competitions, 50 games last year in all competitions. He's currently on 37 this year with 9 league games to go. So this could be a 45 plus season for Bruno Guimaraes. And I think he's come on leaps and bounds since he joined from Lyon. And my only worry for Newcastle will be, what if a big club comes calling? So, Newcastle United fans, football fans, let me know. If you're a Newcastle fan, just how good is Guimaraes for you? You watch him week in, week out. Just how good is he? Where does he rank in terms of your best player at the club? Is he the best player at your club? Second, third? What do you think? Let me know. I'm interested to know. Football fans that aren't Newcastle United, how much would you like a Bruno Guimaraes? How good is he in your mind? Am I overhyping him? Am I underselling him? Let me know your thoughts. What I do know is Newcastle have a very bright future, a top midfield, and a very, very good football manager. and a great coach. Take care, everyone. See you soon.